Hello there, Salim Omar here from the eCommerce Money Map podcast. Welcome to another episode. I've got an amazing guest with us. His name is Leo Ebbert. Leo, welcome.
Hey, Salim, good to be here.
I'm so glad you've taken up on my invitation. I'm so looking forward to talking about a topic that is super important. And before we get into the questions, a very quick introduction, a quick bio on Leo. Leo is the founder and president of Exact Click Digital, a boutique agency specializing in paid ads management. Now, he began his career as a certified public accountant, much like me at Deloitte. I wasn't at Deloitte, but I am a certified public accountant. He started his career in Phoenix, Arizona. And then in 2007, he founded Exact Click Digital in his hometown of Knoxville, Tennessee. And since founding this company, Leo and his team have helped dozens of brands drive over 1 million conversions through paid advertising. And what Leo is doing is touring podcasts to help educate e-commerce brands on ways to optimize their accounts on Google, Facebook, Bing, and Amazon. Welcome, Leo. And why don't we start off, perhaps share with us your backstory, 30 seconds a minute. Give us a quick introduction from, things that the brief bio did not share.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, as you pointed out, I started as a CPA, and within about a year after I started the agency. What a lot of people don't know is why I started it was I read an article in a business magazine back in 2007, and they had a picture of this guy sitting poolside in the country of Cyprus. And he said, I buy lead on Google for local businesses, and then I sell them to local businesses. And I was kind of looking for a career change, and I thought, hey, I could probably figure that out. I'm a CPA. I sat for the exam. I bet I could figure this out too. And that's what got me started in this career, was just that little article. It was just a 2-page article in a magazine.
Wow. Something else. Yeah. And so, you've been at it for some 15 years or so, and you've got an amazing website, and, you helped some big clients, or, somebody, on your homepage, you've got somebody from Shark Tank, somebody who appeared on Shark Tank. So e-commerce is your niche, folks that you work with. So let's talk about what's the best, return on ad spend for e-commerce ads.
Yeah, that's a really important question. And the real answer is there's no best that can be applied universally to everyone. Some people kind of approach their ads from a certain point of view and say, I need to hit X ROAS, return on ad spend. I need to get 5, or I need to get 3, or I need to get 10. And the reality is it's a math question. You have to figure out a couple things. What are your margins, right? You figure out what's the value of a sale today. But even more importantly, you have to look at lifetime value, okay? And this is where someone like you and I, with our background, we know how to do that math. We know how to do the analysis and figure out what is your true value of a customer. You get a sale today, well, that's worth X dollars, but in 5 years from now, they will have purchased, who knows how many more times. And that math will inform your ROAS, right? But a lot of e-commerce brands, they never get around to doing that math. Even if they do have the historical data, they just don't put in the time to say, okay, let's do the analysis. Let's figure out what a customer truly is worth to us, and then figure out what the ROAS should be based on that.
Yeah, great. Now, how does one segment their ads funnel for success?
Yeah. That's a really good question too. So the key perspective is you always start from the bottom of your funnel and work your way up. And the reason is because if you say, well, I just need more traffic, so I'm going to go out and get a bunch of top of funnel cold traffic and send them to my website. Well, if you don't have an ads funnel that is in place to shepherd that traffic into buyers, then there's going to be a lot of wasted ad spend, because most people, if you expose your brand to 1,000 people online, the vast majority of them will not buy from you the first time. They're going to need multiple touches. They're going to need to be educated on why your product's better, how you're actually solving a problem. And that takes ads. It takes retargeting. It takes a funnel that is going to bring these people through to the final purchase. So you always start at the bottom. Your most valuable traffic is abandoned carts. Obviously, that's pretty standard. Then you work up your way from there, and you say, okay, everyone who engages with me has a certain value assigned to them. Someone who abandoned in a cart 5 days ago is really valuable to me. Someone who logged a single page view 2 months ago, they're not as valuable because they only showed that small amount of interest, and it's been 8 weeks since that happened. So you have to segment your campaigns in your funnel based on the amount of time that has passed and the level of engagement they took. And when you do that, you can assign the proper value to each bucket within that funnel, and you get some amazing results when you do that.
So what are some things, Leo, that you think about when you're designing an ad funnel? And let's say it's, somebody that opts in, right? A common scenario in an e-commerce company. Somebody opts in into your email list. What are you thinking as you're putting the funnel together, and really it's from top to bottom?
So that's a pretty, in my view, a kind of a medium level of engagement. Okay. So they've come to the site, they like what they see, they're saying, I want to hear from you. And if they opt in, it's better than just say someone who comes to your site and logs one page view and they bounce off the site. That person is valuable to you, right? Whereas someone who went through the buying process and came this close to buying, they put something in their cart, they just didn't complete the checkout. That's generally your highest value. So someone that comes in and they subscribe to your email list, that's kind of middle of the road. So you definitely, they are valuable to you, right? And what a lot of people miss on email is most email nowadays is not seen, especially from a marketing perspective. It ends up in the promotions folder of Gmail, or it gets logged as spam. But those people have said, I want to hear from you. So what you should do is take your entire email list, say anybody who is not opening my emails. Let's say I'm sending out a list of 10,000, 3,000 of those people have not opened an email in 6 months. They're still on my list. They have not unsubscribed. They're just not getting my emails. So I want to pull those people into Facebook as an audience and try to re-engage them, remind them, hey, I'm still here. You may have forgotten about me. You probably aren't seeing my emails, but guess what? We have a deal right now. Or guess what? We have a product that's going to fit really well with the thing you bought from us 6 months ago, right? That's a gold mine of people, and you definitely need to try to harvest that.
Got it. So when somebody opts in, you've got the email nurture that's happening, an email sequence that's going to them periodically and so forth to engage them further. And then what you're doing is retargeting them as well. Is that correct?
Exactly. And so you want to fill that gap of undeliverabilities. So you might have promotions going once a month or every week or every quarter, right? But if the people aren't getting the email, they never know unless you have another way to reach them. And Facebook's a great way to do that. We can make sure that our email offer gets in front of that entire email list on Facebook or on Instagram or TikTok or wherever.
Yeah, that's a great segue into my next question. What's the best marketing channel for a brand? For a listener listening to this, they've got a brand. What, is it Google versus Facebook? What, is that kind of, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. And that's another one of those, I hate, CPAs are notorious, and lawyers too, for saying it depends, right? That's kind of, people hate to hear that answer, but it does depend. So there are a few things to keep in mind. If you have a product there's a high existing demand. So there is a large group of people that know what your product is. They may not know who you are or your brand, but they know what your product is and they're looking for it. That means they're going to be going to Google and they're going to be typing, whatever the product is, it can be, ball caps or whatever. They're typing that in. You want to harness that and get in front of that and maximize the benefit of people looking for you, right? That's probably your lowest hanging fruit. And that's the way you should always look at this, is what's the lowest hanging fruit right now for my business. So it's probably Google Shopping and some Google search, probably. Okay. Now I say probably because if you have a really strong social game or social presence with your brand, you have really great assets, you have a customer base that is just extremely loyal and loves your brand, then your lowest hanging fruit is probably on social. Okay. So you'd want to leverage that first. And not that you can't leverage them all at the same time, but if you're trying to say, what's the biggest impact today, my biggest bang for my buck, that's how you would look at it. And generally it's going to be either Google Shopping on the one hand or Facebook/Instagram on the other. Those are going to be kind of your two top channels generally.
Mm-hmm. And what's the best way to test, with ad spend? Testing is so important with paid money. Otherwise, you can be throwing lots of money. So testing through every stage of the game is so important. What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, there are a few main things you want to always be testing. And that's one, I guess the overriding principle of testing is you need to always have a piece of your budget carved out for that, because you don't know what you don't know. And it's amazing sometimes, even for someone like me who's been doing it for so long, when we test something in an ad account and we're like, I wasn't sure that was going to work, but it works. And then we can, because we see so many ad accounts, we can end up deploying it to other clients. But creative is a big thing, and it's not always what you think it's going to be. Sometimes the creative that is the least, glamorous or the least professional looking usually that's what does the best. Okay. And that's got to stay on brand, obviously, but you don't have to get the highest production value to get the biggest benefit from your creatives. The other thing that you'd want to test is campaign objectives. So within Facebook and Google, there are a ton of different campaign objectives, a ton of different audience types. So you want to put those. Sometimes, for example, in Google, sometimes the smart campaigns are great, like Performance Max, sometimes is wonderful. In other ad accounts, it's not. It can depend on the niche. It can depend on your audience or the keyword traffic or how Google uses the Performance Max for your account in particular. So the only way you'll figure those things out is if you're willing to test, try it, and then measure the results.
Yeah. What's the predominant reason or reasons why prospects engage with an ad?
Yeah, initially, if it's social, the initial reason is always visual. Okay, almost always. Most people are not, as they're scrolling through their app on Facebook, it's not the words usually that get their attention. Maybe if you use an emoji, that could be it, but it's almost always the image or the video. That's what's going to get their interest initially and get them to stop this. Okay. And this is what everybody's doing on their phone. They're always doing this swipe up and just going down the feed, right? So if you want them to stop, you've got to intrigue them enough visually to get them to stop. Okay. On the Google side, it's going to be more dollars and cents, meaning if I'm on Google Shopping, that's a price comparison tool essentially. So I've got to be competitive price wise. But you can also use other tools like the promotions, which is very under leveraged. And what I mean by promotions is it could be free shipping, it could be, $5 off, whatever, just any kind of a promotion, because that gives you a special label on the ad and people respond to that. In the search ads themselves, it's more a question of the ad text. Are you responding to them according to the keyword search that they used, right? So if someone's typing in a very specific keyword search, they're expecting to see that in the ad text, right? So you need to be close to it to get their attention, right? Get their eyes on it. So it depends a little bit on the channel. Like I said, in some it's more visual, and others it's more of a math thing, like pricing or shipping.
How important is it to get in the head of the prospect and really use words, copy that they resonate with?
Yes. And this is something, a lot of brands, it's kind of like their prospects can't hear them, right? It's like you're talking and the people you're talking to, they cannot hear you. And there's a reason for that. It's not because you don't have something of value to say. It's that you're not answering a question that they have in that moment. Okay. So as an example, if I'm selling a product to someone that does not know that I exist, they have no idea who I am. Well, they're going to have very different questions or very different concerns than someone that's been on my email list for 5 years and just hasn't bought from me in a while, right? Those are just two very different conversations. The second person knows me. They know my product. They probably like my product. They just haven't thought about me in a while, or they've just forgotten, or they didn't know I had a promotion going. So that's why at every point in your funnel, we talked about the funnel a few minutes ago, and you're starting from the bottom and you're working your way up. You have to think about the voice you're using. You have to think about the questions that the person has at that point in the funnel. All right. So you mentioned someone that had just subscribed to our email list. Their questions are not the same as someone who has been on the email list for 3 years or someone who has never heard of us. So that's why you have to consider that in your copy and, craft it accordingly.
Yeah. We got to give them, the prospect, a good reason why they should continue listening to us, or they should listen to us, or they should pay attention to us. And I mean, I don't know, the word relevant really resonates with me, really giving information that's relevant to a prospect, and relevance is going to change from person to person. So we really got to understand our prospects and where they're at, in their journey with us, where they're at in their journey in their life, and just like in totality, understanding them as much as we can so that we can give them content or ads, marketing copy that's relevant to them.
Right. Yeah, that is the key, and you need to put yourself in their shoes, as pretend that you are them. Understand them inside and out, what they need to know and what they're looking to hear in this particular moment in their journey.
Yeah. This is so good, man. I really enjoying the insights that you're sharing with us. And I've got, I see that we are, looking at the clock. We've got a few minutes before we finish off. Leo, give us some advice on, a listener, a viewer watching this. They're at $1 million in their e-commerce business. They want to take it to their $5 million mark. Like, you're sitting in front of them, eye to eye. What's some advice you're giving them?
Yeah, that's always going to come down to a single word, which is scale, right? They're looking for scale. So if they've got $1 million brand already, they've figured out most of the basic problems. They've got a product that people want. They know that. They know what they should be charging for it. They know what their margins are. They know, the sourcing of the product for all that kind of stuff, and they're looking to grow. It's simply a question of scaling it. Okay. And that's where you have to be prepared to expand your budget up. That's not going to sacrifice all of that ROAS, right? Which is where it can get very tricky. That's where a lot of brands run into a problem, is they say, hey, I'm getting, 3X or 5X or whatever number I'm getting. I'm just going to triple my budget and expect to maintain that ROAS. It doesn't usually work that way. Okay. You have to be prepared for some turbulence in the account itself while you kind of retool everything. And you have to build it in a different way. If you're going to be a $5 million brand, your approach within your ads funnel is going to be different than when you're a $1 million brand, right? But once you kind of figure out those questions and start building it out, it's just saying, hey, what's my lowest hanging fruit today, right now? Is it Google ads? Is it, expanding my Google shopping presence, or is it getting into YouTube ads? Is it, expanding what I'm doing on Instagram, or is it pushing into something like TikTok, right? Those are always good. They're always going to be growing pains, but that's just part of it. And if you do it correctly, you can scale to that level that you're looking for.
Yeah, that's great. So I want to kind of make a shift and ask you something more personal along your entrepreneurial journey. You've been at it for 15 years. You work with so many different types of e-commerce businesses. So you've been in the entrepreneur world quite a bit. And for yourself, in your entrepreneurial journey, what have been like one or two lessons, observations that you've made that have really kind of mistakes you may have made, lessons you've learned from that?
Yeah, I would say the first one I would say is mentorship / coaching can really be valuable. And the reason is, if you're an entrepreneur, it's very easy to get inside our own heads, and we just have a hard time getting outside of ourselves and seeing it from the outside in. And that can work, in a lot of different ways, manifest in a lot of different ways. We can be overly critical or not critical enough of our decision making. If you have another person that's smart, that's been through the journey, they know what to watch out for, and they're just seeing you from that outside perspective, they can really point out those blind spots, okay, and help you get over a hurdle that you may have never noticed, never even recognized as a hurdle, and it's taking much longer to get past it, right? So I believe in that, coaching and mentoring from smart people that are, and you have to pay them for it, but it's, in my opinion, worth it if you find the right person. The other thing is, I think just having I really subscribe to the sink or swim theory that I talked about when I left my career as an accountant. I put myself in that position. It's sink or swim. It's do or die. I have to do this in order to get where I want to go. So I believe if you just approach your business from the perspective of, I'm going to figure this out. There might be some difficulties. There are more than likely going to be some late nights here and there, some lost sleep on occasion. But if you just take that approach, I will do this. I will figure this out. I'll do what I need to do. Then as long as you don't stop trying, you really can't ever lose.
Yeah, that's great. Good advice. Yeah, I totally resonate totally resonate with the first one, with coaching, mentoring. I've been at it for 26 years in business, in entrepreneurship, worked as a CFO before that. But that was, very different in entrepreneurship. And, very quickly realized that I didn't know what I didn't know. And I have blind spots. And so it was getting mentors and, really, really keeping that open mind, a curious mind, trying to always have the humility, being humble enough to know that I don't know, and then seeking the answers and really being in that environment where there is a mentor or coach, where I'm interacting with like-minded folks as well. Sometimes you learn quite a bit from that as well, that interaction, as well as much as you do from the coach and the mentor. So yeah, that's really been very, very, very helpful for me. And, I've just been a huge proponent of self-development and, really investing in myself so that I can give more, I can do more, I can be more. So yeah, that mentality has really, really been helpful for me. So I want to kind of echo what you shared there, Leo, with that. And really, managing a business by numbers is so important. I mean, that's what I do in my profession as a CPA and working with e-commerce brands, but really something what you do as well is like there's that measurement, the return on ad spend, right? We started off with that. It's like, let's measure what's working, what's not, and tweaking it. I think overall, if we look at our business from that standpoint, right? What's working, what's not, let's do more of what's working. Let's do less of what's not working, right? So that's, I think, that's kind of my 2 cents is on that.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. And I think that's part of why my career transitioned so well over to what I do, because it's analytical. You have to look at the numbers and say, okay, what's making the money and what's not. Let's cut off the things that don't, and let's build on the things that are.
Yeah. And I think your website does a pretty good job of trimming that end as well. So I encourage everyone to go to your website. But what's the best way, Leo, for folks to reach out to you?
Yeah, my website would be exactclickdigital.com. There are a few things on there. You can obviously schedule a call if you want to talk to me, but there are a couple of free guides. So if you have a current digital marketer and you're wondering, how do I know if they're doing the best job? There's a mini course on there that describes how to audit your digital marketer. There's another one that talks about the top 5 mistakes that people make in their ad accounts. And again, those are totally free. There's, you can just jump on there and watch those short videos. They're very I made them short and kind of value packed on purpose so that people could digest them easily and quickly, get to their bottom line answer and decide if they need to talk to someone like me or not.
Great. So good. Leo, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Salim.